Hey, what's up, everyone? Nick here from Nomad Nick, a Nomad Way. It's now called the Nomad Way. It was Nomad Nick. Appreciate everyone coming back if you're a subscriber. Otherwise, if you're new to the channel, thanks for joining and welcome. So, I wanted to tell you a story today because this just happened at work, but I think it applies in life too. And it's a long story, so bear with me. It'll be worth it in the end. So I'm an account executive, right? And a customer of our company had reached out to another account executive at my company because that account executive is the customer's account executive. I'm in a different territory. So that AE had referred me to this customer's prospect because this customer is like they provide services. So like they were referring my company to one of their prospects and doing evaluation. And so okay, right? So I got the requirements from this customer about this prospect, and I was going to join one of their calls, and so I did. And it was a very short call. We ended up scheduling another call for a presentation. And so I got onto that presentation, and first off, I emailed this customer of ours who I was working with on this deal beforehand to kind of connect on what the prospect is really looking for, etc., and have a conversation about it before our presentation. And I got no response. So I hopped on this presentation call, and we were using Google. I forgot what the Google video program is called because I don't use it, and that was part of the problem. I have a MacBook, and security settings wouldn't allow me to share my screen. So I was like, can we stop screen recording? Because that was the error message, and the account executive at this company said, no, we're gonna be recording this. And I was like, I'm getting an error, I can't share my screen, right? So can you just stop the recording? And so one of the higher ups that was on the call finally told this guy, stop the recording, see if he can share his screen. I ended up not being able to share my screen, so I had to resend out an invite to this group that I was doing the presentation for, and so we joined my call, my invite, and I got started with the presentation. And at the end of the call, it went well, considering that I only had a list of what they were trying to look for, this prospect, but some of the questions at the end were more technical. It really wasn't my role to answer some of those questions. So it was like they got mad at the end too. Not some of the higher ups that were on the call. They literally complimented me, thought I did a great job on the call, while the prospect was on the call too. And mind you, they're already using our company. So it was like a customer testimonial, a live customer testimonial. So anyways, there was a little bit of a selfishness, I would feel like. I feel like on that call. And after that presentation call, another account executive from a different company reached out to me through another AE at my company and got in touch, because turns out there was a competitor. So we have a customer of our company working a deal that invited me to present to their prospect, and at the same time a competitor of that company reached out to me to say, we're in this deal as well, and we want to recommend your company to this prospect company. So it's like a win-win situation for me. But after this presentation call, this competitor company emailed me and is like, please keep confidential, but does this time next week work with the prospect and us to go over, licensing structure? So we took the call. I scheduled the call, and before that call, I had my manager and myself sit in, just to introduce ourselves to this competitor company that was in this deal, and to kind of go over what we were going to talk about on the call specifically, like, have an agenda ready. And so we get on this call, my manager and I, and these guys, they're obviously, it's like so both of these companies that were working this deal are like, the evaluations that prospects have to go through in order to select a vendor for this particular service is very long. So what I'm saying is, they knew, when I got on that call with my manager, they knew all the details about the deal, like what the budget is that this prospect has, etc. And they wanted us to pitch they were basically trying to undercut our deal so that they could maximize theirs. That's basically what was happening. So that was their pitch to us, like, here's what we're gonna do. They wouldn't tell us the budget of what this prospect has to spend. They just wanted us to pitch a low amount of licenses, and they wouldn't tell us why, right? And it didn't even make sense for this prospect company to only have that many licenses. It turned out to be a huge deal for us, and because there was a need for a lot of licenses for this prospect. But this company kept trying to sell us on the fact that we were only going to pitch this, a low amount of licenses so that they could maximize their deal. And so we end up getting on this call with the prospect the next day, and we took up the whole time, and we needed a follow-up call. So basically the call went well, and we ended up scheduling a follow-up call for like the next day. So I didn't invite the competitor to the follow-up call to like confirm the number of licenses, etc., and go over some of the other details that we had for like onboarding. Turns out when we get on the follow-up call, this competitor is literally on the call somehow. Somehow he got the call details and got the invite, probably from the prospect. But the problem is, like, we were going over pricing, and so we didn't want to do that with the competitor on the call, because it's not fair for the prospect, and it's really not fair for us. But it's not even about us. It's more so like there were just too many people on that follow-up call. And so after the call, we actually didn't, the call ended where my manager was, we were talking about like giving them a deal, right? So we wanted to know if they were open to like a multi-term deal, what the budget was for the project that they were working with, so we can come close to it, or try to at least. And so the call ended because my manager was like, hey, do you just want to take this offline? There were so many people on that call. It was like 10 people just listening to my manager and like the CFO go back and forth. So the CFO was like, yeah, let's do that. After the call, I got on the phone with the onboarding specialist, who is actually from a third party that I brought into the deal because they have a specific connection that the prospect needed for their setup for this service that we're offering. I'm not giving any specific details because you guys don't need to know that, but hopefully you're following me up to this point. And so the third party onboarding specialist, and let's back up a second. On the last call, during that call, the onboarding specialist from the third party that we're partnered with presented the onboarding offerings, which are paid offerings, and basically he was throwing out like minimum numbers that they had to meet, and just trying to really maximize his deal. So like, I'm sitting there like, this is so confusing, and it's honestly so selfish from everyone except myself, which it's sad to see that sometimes, you know? So we get off this call and we do a 3-way call with my manager, me, and this third party onboarding specialist who we're partnered with as a company. And basically he's just talking about himself, how this is great, you know. We were saying, is there any room for you to budge on, you know, your numbers that you threw out? And he was like, no, not really. I told you that I get paid the most on you know, this product offering. And it's just like, man, everybody's just thinking about themselves, from this guy, the competitor company that I just told you guys about, and then this third-party onboarding specialist. And all along, me and my manager, or at least myself, I was simply thinking about the customer, the prospect. And the reason for that is because they were so cool. I mean, the CFO is on the phone, like hearing us out, hearing our pitch. Usually they don't, you know, spend the time to do that, and they don't have to either. And you know, the CFO was speeding up the deal for us. Like, between calls, you know, we had an agenda in between, like what needed to get done. Everything got done on time, and it's probably going to close in November. And the CFO, like, he helped us get there, and he was a part of the call to make sure that it is the right purchase for them. And so I feel like everybody else that was in the deal was trying to maximize, and it's almost like they were trying to use this company, who was this prospect company, who is just so open and so cool and so flexible and so like it's almost like they're putting themselves out there, you know? They're just being completely open and told everyone all the details, and then you've got two different companies, really all the companies. I mean, the first company that got out of the deal because the CFO told them they were going to go with this other competitor company, I called them after the presentation call. They haven't heard back from the CFO yet, and I already knew that I had another call scheduled with this competitor company for the next week, but I called them just to see what's up. And they didn't even know the right company name for this prospect. That's how much they care about this prospect. You know, it's like, it's attention to detail. It's like just giving a crap in sales, and people appreciate when you do. But I feel so bad when people get taken advantage of, and when they're so open with you as a salesperson, because it's usually not the case. So moral of the story is, we're going to end up giving them a good deal on our offering. We set up a call, my manager and I, with the CFO to discuss pricing and make sure it makes sense for him on Monday. And like, he even set that call up like right after we emailed him too. It took like 2 seconds to get back to us. It's like, it's just not normal for someone to do that and to be so open about it, like not closed off at all. He had no guard up. And so I appreciate that, and no one else did on the call. And you can take that as a lesson in life. Like, some people will just want to take advantage of you. Some people are just thinking about themselves. They're selfish. But really, the more you can give to other people, and the more that you care about other people and show that you care about people, you're going to have more opportunities. I mean, part of the the onboarding specialist, the partner that I was working with, if he does so much work, we'll just put it this way, so much work on the calls that I invited him to sell with me on, then they get to put our licenses on their paper, which means they get 15% of the deal. And so he was trying to say that he did like all the work, which he didn't. I did all the work. I brought him in for onboarding. That's it. Onboarding services. I sold the whole deal, but he was trying to take credit for it. And what that would mean is if he took credit for it and it was on their paper, they would get 15%, and then at the maximum, we could only give like 10% to the customer, which we didn't want to do. We want to give more than that, 10% off, because it's a bigger deal. But the third party onboarding specialist didn't care. It was all about him. It blows my mind sometimes, man, what people do to maximize their deal. And, you know, the competitor guy, the competitor account executive joining our follow-up call to see if he can understand what our pricing is. I think that's why he was on the call. There were so many moving parts to this deal, but hopefully this story is interesting, and hopefully it made sense, because I didn't use any names or company names. It's not important. It's just the moral of the story is you're going to be more successful if you think about others and do and give more, rather than making it all about yourself. Because now, I mean, look at it. I'm going to look at that third-party onboarding specialist next time I have a deal that's a good one, and I'm going to think twice before I invite him to the call. And if I do invite him to the call, we're going to sit down and have a conversation before he gets into the deal. And he wasn't organized for the final call either. He didn't put any effort into the presentation. That was another part of it. I talked to my manager afterwards, and I was like, you cannot go into a call like that. He doesn't care at all. All he cares about is himself. And the presentation was terrible. He didn't put any effort into it. It just shows how much he really cares. Same thing with the first companies. Really, the competitor company that was winning the deal, that won the deal with us, it seemed like they cared, but they still wanted to maximize their side of the deal. That's the problem. I wouldn't do that, because you never know, what the future holds and what networking opportunities you might have. So anyways, this is a very long video, but I thought it was worthwhile, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.